Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Malik Hajj, and this is We Reflect the Light. This is where we look at current events that are taking place in the world today through the lens of the unsealed scriptures of the Bible that gives us detailed information on what is taking place in the world today and what is going to take place in the near future from the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. Sisters and brothers, we are at war. Today we're going to get right into our presentation, sisters and brothers. We're going to begin with Abram's vision and the Abrahamic covenant. Give me a second, sisters and brothers. This is all right, sisters and brothers. Abram's vision and the Abrahamic covenant. Abram's vision, sisters and brothers, is a detailed message to the original black man and woman here in America. This message is a message to the world of the directions that the lives or the history not history or because the direction, let's leave it like that, of the lives of the life that Abraham's seed would endure through before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Sisters and brothers, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. But thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch that passed between these pieces. Sisters and brothers, this gives a detailed description and direction. Let me say it like this. Description of what Abram's seed would endure through. So it's sharing with us that God shared with Abram, know of a surety, know for sure that thy seed shall be sojourners, meaning temporary stayers in a land that is not theirs. And in this land they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 100 years. So the people that they served afflicted, them for 100 years. So sisters and brothers, in that 400 years, that it's been spoke on, this means simply that Abram's seed will be afflicted for 100 years. Not 100, not 200, not 300, but 400 years. And also, let me go. I want to highlight another idea. It said enslaved, well, they will serve them and afflict them. Now 400 years. Okay. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And after that, after the judgment, it says, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. But thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. So they shall return to their fathers in peace and be buried in a good old age. However, sisters and brothers, in that fourth generation, they shall return hither. They shall come hither again. That means they shall come where they are speaking from again. So it's letting us know that, hey, this is going to happen. He's speaking with Abram there, from where Abram is. They shall go to this strange land and be afflicted 400 years in this strange land. And after the 400 years, I will judge that nation whom they serve, and they will come out with great substance. And in that fourth generation, they shall come here again. So, sisters and brothers, this is a detailed message that will take place before the coming of the dreadful day of the Lord, or this period of time would come right before God's chosen people was this would happen, this 400-year period. And immediately after that 400 period, that nation whom they serve will be judged, and they shall be brought out with great substance. So these things has to take place right after the 400 years, the 400-year period. So, sisters and brothers, our open enemies and our hidden enemies wants us to think that false Israel is the true seed of Abraham. And that false Israel, by being set up in the Middle East by America and Britain, has already carried out this scripture. Sisters and brothers, to divert the original black man and woman from adding up the facts, from seeing ourselves as the people that are being spoken to or about in these scriptures. However, sisters and brothers, false Israel was set up to counter Elijah Muhammad's claim that the original black man and woman here in America are the true seed of Abraham. Sisters and brothers, false Israel, and the reason because we're calling them false, because they're false. They're those that call themselves Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of the Satan. There's no truth in them. They're liars, murderers, thieves, robbers, and they have stolen our identity. And they are lying to the world. And the devil is with them aligned with them, pushing this lie on the world. And the dragon is, or as well as, let me say it like this, the Sunni Muslims are also aligned in this lie to keep us, the original black man and woman, from identifying who we are, and that will keep us from identifying our promised land that Allah, God, has given to Abraham's seed. Now, sisters and brothers, our 400-year sojourn, that cannot be denied, cannot be challenged, because the fingerprint, I don't want to say fingerprint, the stamp of life history is spoken on through the scripture. So undeniably, it is our history. Now, sisters and brothers, the official start of our sojourn here in America begun the official start date of the American slavery, which was 1619, began in 1619 and was titled the 1619 Project. So from 1619, sisters and brothers, to 2019 is the duration, the time that we submitted and went through this great horror that Abraham seen in advance. So we call this time from 1619, or from the time that we touched arrived in America, the Holocaust. Because Abraham seen a time of great horror that his seed would endure through. And we can bear witness. There's unadulterated proof all around us of our sojourn being in horror here in America, from are rival to this very moment here in America. Sisters and brothers, this land is called a land of our enslavement and affliction. So we will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. So, sisters and brothers, many of you think that we are not slaves. Many of you think that we was freed and that we're somehow being treated equal, or have rights, so to say. However, sisters and brothers, the unsealed scripture, the scripture itself, blatantly shares with you that you will be enslaved and afflicted 400 years. So the trick is to make you think and make us think that we're not slaves anymore. To make you think that, you're just as equal as the slave master, that America has changed in some ways against you. However, sisters and brothers, that's just us as a people being naive to or of our enemy. Naive of his nature and his ways. Naive of the separating him from his laws, when his laws dictate and keep us in check. When his laws and constitution is written against us and is written to afflict the original black man and woman. They're written to enslave and afflict us. In this land. So in using technology, laws, statutes, to make us think that the law has changed or things have changed in America, when, sisters and brothers, until this very moment, the original black man and woman is still enslaved and afflicted here in the hells of North America. tricked by words, by the changing of words that are applied when speaking about us. Niggas to Negroes, from coloreds to Negroes, to these different, to African Americans, to just to keep you forever changing the in a word, but never changing in the idea. Sisters and brothers, the trick is to make us think that we have been freed, when we know that we're not free, when we know that the laws, the institution itself is against us, it's on our backs, it is destroying us from the institution, from the design itself is destroying us or attempting to destroy us. It is a consistent, constant affliction and enslavement of the original black man and woman here in America. The Constitution, the system, the institution of America. Now, the trick is that they have made us think that we are free to be free, when know that we don't have equality, we receive no justice, and you're not free. We have no freedom. So the trick is, the joke is on us as a people. As America carries out its fabric, its institutional ways against the original black man and woman. So we remain slaves and afflicted in America. We remain receiving injustice, no freedom. No equality. We know that no matter what you personally achieve, that these freedom, justice, and equality does not and has not been obtained or given to the original black man and woman. And given a right to be free, equal in equality, and equal. So, sisters and brothers, there's let me say it like this. In looking at America, she lets us know that there is no justice in her. Just looking at her dollar, there's a weight. It's not balanced. It's imbalanced. That means there is no equality, no justice in her. And you can see in her actions, not just here in America, but abroad, in dealing with nations that justice is not a part of America's ways. Now, sisters and brothers, we know without a shadow of a doubt we need to stop kidding ourselves, playing like you're free, playing like there's an equal pivot or playing ground, playing like there's justice in this system for the original black man and woman. We know for a shadow of a doubt that we are being afflicted in America to this very day, that we are hung, beat, shot, killed, raped, eaten, enslaved, by being imprisoned. These conditions have never stopped here in America. And sisters and brothers, the unsealed scriptures share with us so that, you don't think that Juneteenth what is that? But I forget the direct dates. Something on. You were set free. How would you think? How is that when you didn't even have no rights? I mean, and even in the 60s, when they were boycotting and begging for rights, they were still killing us, hanging us. So, sisters and brothers, these facts, these are easy facts to identify, that when the scriptures say that we was enslaved and afflicted 400 years. It's been made clear in the scripture and being made clear in reality in the history of the original black man and woman here in America, that we've never been free and has always been afflicted by America to this very day, to this very moment. They're still doing and carrying out the same agenda as they were in the beginning. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel was set up in the Middle East by America and Britain to block, to counter the narrative, not that Elijah Muhammad shared, that we are the true seed of Abraham, the original black man and woman here in America. So America and Britain set false Israel up in Palestine to act if the covenant of Abraham was already fulfilled. So by it being already fulfilled, that, we, being the true seed of Abraham, wouldn't be able to look at our history and come to the conclusion from our history that we are the true seed of Abraham. So the thing to do is to make them think and see false Israel as the true seed of Abraham, so that we would not identify ourselves, who are the true seed of Abraham, as the true seed of Abraham. We would never come to that conclusion, because by their narrative, false Israel has already been set up in the Middle East, or in Palestine, or Israel, as if they are the true seed of Abraham and the covenant was fulfilled. So with that being fulfilled, that means that this wouldn't apply to us, the true seed of Abraham. This already happened. That's their plan. Their plan is, we're going to call false Israel the true seed of Abraham and set them up so that the original black man and woman here in America don't recognize that they're the true seed of Abraham, and we or that nation that afflict them, and we're the devil, and false Israel is the synagogue of Satan. See, they won't recognize that this applies to them if we share that this has already happened and it's already been fulfilled. Sisters and brothers, false Israel has stolen our identity and attempts to steal our birthright. And our open enemies and our hidden enemies wants us to fall for the okie doke. Wants us to not want to acquire our birthright. They attempt to get us to look and want reparations, something other than the covenant, something other than the promised land. Sisters and brothers, Genesis, the 15th chapter, the 18th verse of the 15th chapter, the Abrahamic covenant. In the same chapter we just read from, that gave a detailed description or direction of what we would endure through. And God, Allah, shared with Abram in the same verses, in the same chapter. In that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, see, Abram had just had a vision. He shared the vision and what they would, he seen and what they would endure through. And he said, and God said, know of a surety, Abram, that this is what your seed would endure through. And in that day, God made a covenant with Abram. Abram, I know your seed will endure through in slavery and affliction, a time of straight horror. However, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. God made a covenant with Abram. Abram, this is a covenant. From me to you. Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Sisters and brothers, this is the promised land. This is the land that God has given unto Abram's seed, which is the original black man and woman here in America. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel is sitting in Palestine, claiming that they're the true seed of Abraham. Know them by their works. They are the synagogue of the Satan, those that call themselves Jews and are not. We, the world, has been witnessing over the years, and especially over the past 3 years, of this abomination that is causing desolation in the Middle East and throughout the world. This abomination that does not belong in the Middle East, that is causing desolation, is false Israel. That is causing destruction in the Middle East and throughout the world, but specifically in the Middle East at this time, sisters and brothers. Destruction in Palestine, destruction in Lebanon, destruction in Syria, destruction in Iraq, destruction in Yemen. Sisters and brothers, false Israel will be first to be destroyed. False Israel's destruction, sisters and brothers, is going to make it crystal clear to the original black man and woman, the original nation, who we are. The destruction of false Israel is going to make it clear to the world that false Israel could not and is not God's chosen people. False Israel's destruction is and will make it clear to the world and us, the original black man and woman, that we are the true seed of Abraham, and that we are that nation that has been and is in a land of our enslavement and affliction. Sisters and brothers, false Israel's destruction will also make it crystal clear that that nation whom we served is being judged. Sisters and brothers, the Abrahamic covenant identifies our land, the promised land that has been given to us by Allah, God. That land, the land from the river Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, which is Arabia, is our promised land. Sisters and brothers, our land is being squatted on. Occupied by the dragon, the house of Sod. And they have put their label in front of our land, calling it Saudi Arabia. Sisters and brothers, the war in heaven which is the war in the Middle East, is the war that is going to clean out, the war that is going to throw out the house of Saudi Arabia and the angels of it, America, Britain, and the synagogue of Satan, false Israel. The war in heaven. Revelations chapter 12, verse 7 through 9. And it states, and occurred war in the heaven, the Michael and the angels of him, of the to war with the dragon, and the dragon warred and the angels of it, and not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven, and was thrown the dragon, the great, the serpent, the archaic, the being called devil, and the Satan, the making to err, the being inhabited whole, he was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. Sisters and brothers, this shares with us that the war occurred in heaven. So, what does that let us know? It lets us know where is heaven. And occurred war in the heaven. Sisters and brothers, that lets us know that heaven is the Middle East, and the Middle East is right here on earth. Sisters and brothers, I hate to bust your bubbles, you're wishing well, wishing that you're going to receive wings to fly around with halos in this mysterious somewhere that resides in each one of your minds in its own way. So, in the imagination of the individual is this place that they have been told by their open enemies that they're going to, after they die, to achieve this great happiness, this place of abundance and peace. However, sisters and brothers, that's your imagination. And that is all it is. It's not reality. So, this war that we're witnessing in the Middle East is heaven. Michael and the angels of him are Master Farad Muhammad, who has not as of yet showed himself, but will show himself. And the angels of him are Iran and Syria. And they will go to war, or they are at war right now as we speak, against the dragon and the angels of the dragon. As the scriptures say, and the dragon warred and the angels of it. Now, the angels of the dragon are America, Britain, and false Israel. And the dragon itself is the house of Saud, Saudi Arabia. These countries are in an alliance against Iran right now at war. So, sisters and brothers, these are the characters, these are the participants in this war in heaven. And heaven is the Middle East. So you can see this war in reality on earth because it's real. And not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in heaven. This shares with us that the dragon and the angels of it did not prove to be strong. They were destroyed because not but place was found of them yet in heaven. When the war was in heaven, now they did not prove to be strong enough. And now no place in heaven is found of them, meaning, as the scripture shares with us, sisters and brothers, and was thrown the dragon, the great, the serpent, the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err, the being inhabited whole, he was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. So, the dragon, the house of Saudi Arabia, and the angels of him, who are America, Britain, and false Israel, were thrown out of the Middle East, out of heaven. Sisters and brothers, this is what the unsealed scripture is sharing with us. This is the absolute facts of what is taking place and what the outcome of what is taking place will be from the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. So this is not a might be or a maybe, or we have to see as the world turns or as the war continues what might happen, what Donald Trump might do, or what might happen. No, this is absolutely what the unsealed scriptures share that will take place. So this, sisters and brothers, is prophecy being shared far in advance and consistently with you and us, so that truth is being given. The unsealed scriptures are being spoken over and over and over again of what is going to be. So, sisters and brothers, as of looking to any of the brothers and sisters paying attention, the characters and the outcome has been shared with us far in advance, consistently. It hasn't changed up, but it has become more and more understood and seen and witnessed, meaning the truth or the light of the truth is becoming brighter and brighter, eliminating the darkness, which is lies, deceit, and falsehood. It's eliminating that. So, sisters and brothers, as we move closer into let me say it like this: as the war intensifies or escalates, we're going to look at, let me see what we have. A clip or two, maybe 3 short clips. And in the clips, there's individuals from trusted sources speaking on what is taking place and what the conditions from what is taking place are going to cause if, in their words, if these conditions continue, and if Donald Trump does this might or may happen, that brings or sheds light on the actual events that are taking place on the ground in the real world that can connect reality with the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. However, sisters and brothers, the unsealed scriptures have been given in a definite that this is prophecy. So this is what the unsealed scriptures saying. This is what is going to happen. However, they're sharing what is happening in the real world and how they see is going to affect, or it can affect the world, which collaborates with the outcome from what the unsealed scripture shares will happen. Or I use the word collaborate. That's really not the right word. What's taking place in the world, it's giving us a look at what's taking place in the real world that identifies with what the unsealed scriptures share that is going to take place. So let's get right to it, sisters and brothers. This is Michael and his angels. This is the war in heaven. Let's do it like this. Let's do this. Excuse me.
Hi everybody, today is Saturday, August 1st, 2026, and our dear friend Professor Marandi is here with us. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's always a great pleasure being on your show.
And let me start, Professor Marandi, with what was reported on Israeli media on Channel 12 and on CBS News in the United States that the United States and Israel are preparing to launch what could be, their most extensive bombing campaign yet against Iran's energy infrastructure. And if they're talking about Saturday and Sunday. They're going to do it tonight and tomorrow night, it seems. And how prepared is Iran for that? And what is the perception of Iran of this sort of attack if that happens?
Well, the Iranians have prepared themselves for this situation, and they've said that they will destroy the electrical power plants, the energy infrastructure of countries across the region in retaliation. And I think it's clear as day what will happen. These countries will not be able to continue to exist. I mean, there are quite a few people in the Persian Gulf that have the ability to keep their homes, the electricity in their homes, working through these their own private machinery, but ultimately it's that the regimes will fail. There's no possibility that the Emirates will last if they don't have electricity or desalination plants. If they don't have desalination plants in Qatar or electricity, it's just not sustainable. Everyone will have to leave. Again, they may have these mini generators that can work for a few wealthy families or part of the population for a few days, but that's not going to be nearly adequate to sustain society. So people will have to leave. And then more importantly, when Iran targets the oil and gas facilities, that will be the end of the exports from this region for the years to come. And I believe that that will create a panic on the global markets, because until now, the question has been, when will the Strait of Hormuz be reopened? And when will the oil and natural gas, or LNG, and helium and fertilizers and so on get back onto the global markets? And how can the global markets be spared, or the global economy be spared from a recession? But once this happens, then I think we're going to see a panic in the markets and collapse, because there's no way that Trump or anyone else will be able to manipulate the markets anymore. People will be seeing scenes of burning infrastructure, and it will become clear to everyone that if the Strait of Hormuz is open tomorrow as a result of another MOU or another agreement between Iran and the United States, it won't really matter anymore. There will be nothing left to export. These countries will have collapsed and their facilities will have been badly damaged or destroyed. So what the United States is threatening to do basically in the next couple of days alongside the Zionist regime, because at the end of the day, it's the Zionist regime that's behind it. It's not the United States. It's the Zionist lobby, the Israeli regime. We're seeing their propagandists in the United States pushing day and night for all-out war. I was just on Piers Morgan, and they were advocating all-out war against Iran. It's clear that the force behind the driving force behind this conflict is the Israeli regime. But if this, I think it's clear to the Americans that this will be catastrophic for the global economy and the U.S. economy. But it appears, I mean, if this happens, it's clear that the United States has accepted its own depression, accepted having an economic depression and economic ruin for the sake of the Zionist lobby. It's not going to end well for the Israeli regime, because ultimately people across the world are going to recognize who has brought about this catastrophic situation, because an economic depression is going to affect you in Brazil. It's going to affect people in Japan. It's going to affect people in South Africa. It's going to affect people in Argentina, in Nigeria. No one is going to be spared. And everyone will know who brought this about. It was Trump and Netanyahu and the forces that push the United States, meaning Zionism and the Zionist regime, towards this economic cliff. So we'll have to see. I mean, last night in Iran, some people were awake at night and to see what will happen. I did get up for morning prayers, and obviously nothing happened. So I went back to sleep, but some of my friends were up till then, and they were waiting to see what would happen. But we'll have to wait and see what happens tonight. I mean, I would have thought that they would do this last night after the markets closed, because tonight and tomorrow night would be when the markets begin to reopen in Asia. But nothing would surprise me anymore. Nothing surprises me. And it will be very difficult for the United States and the Israelis to destroy Iran's critical infrastructure, because Iran has a large number of power plants across the country. It will cause damage. It will cause electricity shortages. But it's much easier for Iran to do huge damage, because all of the, as you know, and as your viewers know, all of the assets of the regimes that are collaborating with the United States against Iran are right alongside the shores of the Persian Gulf. There are oil facilities, there are gas facilities, there are power plants, there are desalination plants. They're very easily accessible. And then, of course, this is without including the reality that Yemen has been provoked into war by the Saudis for some very foolish reason. It is said that the Americans pushed them in that direction, but the Saudis have provoked Yemen into waging war. And of course, the Yemeni people are now demanding an end to the barbaric siege. The irony now is, of course, that the Saudis are creating this coalition of countries who want to help Saudi Arabia preserve this barbaric siege. And most of these countries did participate, or many of them did participate, when the Saudis began the genocidal war against Yemen. They supported the Saudis from the very beginning, and they assisted in the starvation of the people of Yemen and the slaughter of the children of Yemen for years. Some of them, of course, later tilted away from Saudi Arabia after the Saudis besieged Qatar. Qatar and Turkey moved away, not for reasons of principle, but because of the conflict that Qatar had with the Saudis and the Emirates, not because of any feelings towards the people of Yemen. But this coalition is not going to succeed. What are they going to do? They can't stop Yemeni drones, and they can't stop Yemeni missiles, and they can't invade Yemen. So they don't have the capabilities of the United States. And of course, people are going to be asking each and every one of those coalition members, what did you do for Gaza? Why is there no coalition to support the people of Gaza? Why was there no coalition to support the people of Lebanon? Why is there no coalition to put pressure on the Israeli regime? It's only, a coalition is only worth creating when it's an ally of the United States that is being punished for a war that it imposed on the people of Yemen, a genocidal war that it imposed upon the people of Yemen. I mean, these countries may be able to mobilize a segment of their societies to support renewing the genocide against Yemen, or renewing this the Saudi war against or strengthening the Saudis in their war against the Yemeni people. But a lot of people are going to become increasingly skeptical about those governments that participate. Now, we'll have to see if anyone actually does, because the Saudis have announced this coalition, but it's not going to work. All it's going to do is it's going to humiliate anyone who is seen assisting the Saudis against the besieged people in Yemen. But in any case, they've awoken Yemen, and now the strikes on Iraq have created outrage across Iraq. And the Iraqi resistance says they're going to punish the Saudis after Arbaeen, after the 40th day, after the ceremonies marking the 40th day after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Holy Prophet. So it's strange how Saudi Arabia brought this upon itself. First, bombing an international airport in Yemen, and then bombing Iraq, even though Yemen said very openly that we fired drones and missiles at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia said, no, it wasn't Yemen, it was the resistance in Iraq. And the belief here in Iran is that the Saudis are blaming Iraq because they're afraid to confront Yemen. So they're like seeking some other entity to strike. And of course, most of the strikes were carried out by the Americans. But what they've succeeded in doing is angering the Iraqi people, especially near Arbaeen, where the people in Iraq are focused on commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, his struggle against the despot of his era in support of the press, and it makes people see the parallels. So this is not going to end well. If the United States attacks Iran and escalates, this will be catastrophic for the world economy. And I think many people just simply don't know what's about to hit if this happens.
Good chance that if all this goes down, Saudi Arabia is going to be dismembered, straight up dismembered, because it's a fake country. Everybody knows that it's a fake country. It's just carved out of the desert, because some Wahhabi head choppers went in and chopped off the right heads, and the British decided to support them. There it is. And when you get rid of the Wahhabist, head choppers, you've got nothing. Now, got of Bedouin tribes that hate each other, and it will break up. The Yemen will take its part. Who knows what Iraq will do? Who knows what Jordan's a fake country, so it doesn't matter. But the point is, that whole region is fake. That whole region was created when specific leaders subordinated themselves to the political will of their British and American masters. And now that their British and American masters are floundering and a new master has arisen, not a master, but a new dominant power, Iran, they don't know what to do. They're in an absolute state of panic. Iran is the future. Again, who am I talking to? You're an Iranian, you know this. 5,000 years of culture and history. And if these Bedouin head choppers that currently populate the leadership positions in Riyadh think that they are the equivalent of that, they have another thing coming. And so Iran is the power. Iran is the future. And, these Gulf Arab states, I think, understand that what that means for them, because they're not long for this world if they continue to side with the United States against Iran.
Scott, looking at the war in the West Asia, before this war started, there was no issue with the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, Iran is not backing down, it's controlling the Strait of Hormuz. The whole war, the conflict is on the Strait of Hormuz right now as we talk. Yemen is coming in. They're talking about Reuters report that Yemen wants a new mechanism with the bubble mandate. They want a toll system in the bubble mandate. That's going to be the new policy. You see how the war is changing itself, reshaping itself in the West Asia. It's complicating. It's not about Iranian nuclear program anymore. Just nobody's talking about Iranian nuclear program. That's amazing what's going on. And it's all about the Strait of Hormuz right now, bubble mandate, and the pressure they're putting on Saudi Arabia, which is so important for the oil market, as we know. The other point is, how is the United States prepared to bring everything into West Asia? Because that is what's going on right now. If they want to focus on the West Asia, they have to bring everything in just to fight all these little wars, big wars. And how is that going to help the United States?
You see, bring everything in. I mean, that's like me going to Las Vegas and say, watch out, I'm going to bring everything in on this table. I'm going to bring it all in on this next bet. Then I reach in my wallet and pull out $3 because that's all I got. Bring everything in? What does the United States have? There was a time when we could deploy 700,000 troops in a snap of a finger. We did that, Operation Desert Storm. There's another time when we could deploy 200,000 troops in a snap of a finger. We did that, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Actually, it was Iraqi Liberation, but then we realized that spelled oil and nobody wanted to go to war for oil, so we changed it to freedom. Today, nothing. This isn't Bewitched. You don't get to rub your nose and magically forces appear. The reason why we could deploy 700,000 troops in 1990, 1991 is that we had spent the last 2 decades preparing for a major war in Europe, where through Reforge, or Return of Forces to Germany, we were ready to deploy 300,000 troops within 10 days. So we had troops on standby, trained, equipped, ready. We also had a large standing army, 250,000 in Germany with the equipment ready to go to war. So when the time came to divert them, we were able to pull forces out of Germany. They were combat ready. We had the lift capacity to do so, and we brought them in, and then we could bring in other forces, marry them up with equipment, because we paid the money and we trained to do this. We were prepared to do this. By 2003, we didn't have that capacity anymore. We had a more limited, reduced capacity, but we're still able to generate 200,000 troops through reduced lift capacity. We're still operating in a benign environment. We landed in a Kuwait port where there's no enemy forces attacking us. We built up forces with no enemy, capability to oppose us, landing on airfields without any intervention. Now we have zero capacity to deploy. It takes 5 months for a U.S. Army Heavy Brigade in Fort Carson, Colorado, to prepare for a peacetime deployment to Poland. 5 months to get their act together, to go through the training, to do the manpower things, to get people in, because it's a peacetime military. People are pregnant, people are on leave, people are in school. Your units are reduced down. You got to build them back up. You got to get them trained. You got to go to National Training Center, because we don't have units that are permanently combat ready anymore. We don't. In order to get them ready, we have to send them to the NTC, National Training Center, and beef them up. And then we take them out and we deploy them to Poland for their little 6 or 9 month rotation. 5 months to do that, and that's just one brigade. Imagine if we were trying to send, I don't know, what did the Pentagon tell Trump it would take back in 2020 when they shot down the drone, and Trump said he's going to bomb Iran, and then the Pentagon said don't do it because we have to take the Strait of Hormuz, and it's going to take us about 800,000 to 1.2 million men to do that. We knew what it was back then, and we said we don't have it. It would take us easily 9 months to a year and a half to build up these forces by mobilizing reserves, by training them. And then how do we get them there? General Berger, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, recognized that we couldn't. He said we're married to a legacy system of amphibious shipping where all the assets go into one ship. And as we approach, the area denial and the anti-shipping missiles capability of Iran sinks everything. There's a reason why our aircraft carriers are operating far away from Iranian shores, because if we get close, we get overwhelmed. And you try and bring in amphibious shipping to Chabahar to offload and project power inland to seize the Strait of Hormuz, which was the 1985 war plan that I was involved in, and it hasn't changed. How do you do that? You can't do it. So when you say the United States is going to bring everything in, we've got nothing to bring. We are literally an empty suit. The emperor is naked, a paper tiger, whatever analogy you want to do. There's not a damn thing we can do, Nima. Nothing. So we should stop pretending that there's something more the United States can do. We brought our air power to bear, and we paid the price. The infrastructure necessary to sustain long-term air combat has been devastated by Iranian counterstrikes. We've run out of long-range precision strike weapons. We're running out of missile interceptor capability. There's no defense industrial magic out there. This isn't a computer game where you hit a cheat code and click the button and suddenly you build up capabilities. This is reality, and our defense industry is not capable of responding in a timely fashion. So we've blown the bolt. We got nothing left to replace it. And what, we're going to pretend here that Donald Trump's going to be building up resources for a third try? No. It's over. We lost. Game, set, match. And it's time for the United States to recognize this. And it's time for Saudi Arabia and the Gulf Arab nations to also recognize this. If you continue to align with the United States, only bad things are going to happen to you.
Scott, what do you make of Zelensky and Zelensky's attack on Iranian cargo vessel, which is supposed to, from